Dyslexic genius here. What I'm going to talk about are the tapered pins on a Pathe phonograph or anytime you use tapered pins. Tapered pin looks like this blue amberol to clean out the inside because it goes bigger here, smaller here. It doesn't look like this, one shaft where it fits in. Everything is tapered. And to do this, you're going to need a tapered ream. A tapered ream looks like that. It's bigger here, it's smaller here. And you have to determine the size. This is at number 3 on this gear, on the winding crank gear here, and we have the tapered pin in, and you can see here, it's bigger here and smaller here. Narrower. The other one, the top end, is a number 5. So if you
So
take
the tapered pins have different numbers?
they're numbered 1 through, I think, 8 or 9. So you put this tapered in, and you see we're figuring out what way the taper hole goes. So we have the big end here, and we see how far it sticks out, and more sticks out on this end. So you pull this out, rotate it over, you go in, you go, okay, the other way is better. So we'll go here, and we're shorter here. We will take that off. And we go, okay, we now know that this is the big end and this is the small end. So on these, we'll come in with a small number 5.
Tapered ream
Like this. And you'll take a tap handle like this, like you're gonna tap a screw, and you'll put this in, and you'll just barely turn this. You just turn this a few times, and then you will test this in and go, okay, it's flush here around the edge, the hole, and it's flush there, so you know this is going to work. And how these work is, when you put them in, it's a press fit. So when you tap on the end of it, tap, 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 it's a press fit. So what these people did somewhere in its life, like this one here, when I pulled it apart, we had a straight shaft, not a tapered shaft. But when you look at it, you see those 2 little burr marks right there? Somebody used a pair of die cutters to burr this up, beat on the end of it, and we have them over here. And they literally took this, they took the whole thing apart in its life once, and they took this thing and they pounded it through. And it screwed up the internal hole for the taper, so I had to come in and re-ream this and double check it, and it was off like that. On taking it apart, the top piece, which is the winding crank, and this brass piece fits on the inside because we have the casting right here. This fits on the inside, and it has 2 little slots where the taper fits. So this is backwards, but it fits in like that, where it really is. It's on this side, and it's on the outside of the casting, and then you'll set it up so they hit those little notches just like that. That's what it'll look like when you're done. So the other thing is, this end, they just use a straight shaft, try to fix it. This end, they beat that thing to death. They beat this piece to death. And on the spring barrel, I still have a little bit more work to do to it. They put this crappy wire through here, thinking this would work, but this really has a taper hole. And then I've reamed this out and figured it out, so I'm gonna tap it, go tappy, 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 and it's gonna hold it in place. But it also, if you look closely on these, the tapered ream is resting on the gear to hold it in place. It just sucks this thing down. So I'm gonna leave this piece out a little and just tap this in on final assembly so it's locked in place. And that's how you work a tapered ream, you know. I buy my taper pins like this number 3. I buy them at 2-inch lengths, so if I can trim them. So on these, like this one, the back one, which is a number 2, I think, or 3. Yeah, this is a 5 and this is a 3. I'm gonna tap it in, get it in place where I want it. Then I'll mark it and I'll cut off the end, polish it out so it looks like that, and then I'll cut off the taper, because this is smaller than the hole, this piece sticking out here.
Okay, so
So
how will you cut it off?
I'll just use, they cut real easily. You can just use a pair of dikes or something. They'll just cut it and then you just set it up and file the ends down, make it look pretty, and it taps back in place. I did the same thing on this. You can see how I trimmed the end on that one right there. And that's how you do it with a tapered pin. But these people, in its life somewhere, somebody tried to fix it and they didn't do it right. And now we're trying to put it back so it is right. And that's my tip for the day.